Now, he campaigned that he will do away with the Iran deal, and yesterday, President Trump finally made his move, killing off the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action with Iran, known to you and me as the Iran nuclear deal. The move is the biggest foreign policy play of his presidency and ends the 2015 Iran deal signed by former President Barack Obama.
Well, the remaining signatories of the nuclear deal will today begin attempts to salvage the agreement. That's Britain, France and Germany, the European powers. They say they're going to work to ensure that Iran continues to meet its obligations and also gain those economic benefits from suspended sanctions. Iran says it's going to talk about sticking with the deal and has ordered its diplomats to begin talks with China and Russia and the Europeans.
So where do we stand now? Let's speak to Brooke Goldstein, the founder of the Lawfare Project, the judicial arm of pro-Israel community in the United States. Brooke, was this the right move by President Donald Trump?
I think it was. I think it's the move that he's been promising all along, and it's definitely something that the world should have expected, especially because the way the deal was made, it was an executive order by Obama. If Obama wanted the deal to have a more lasting effect, he could have gotten approval by the legislator. He could have made it into a treaty, which then would have made it into law. But I think people are exhibiting really a fundamental misunderstanding of cause and effect here. Iran is not behaving the way it does or won't behave the way it does because the U.S. scrapped the deal. The U.S. scrapped the deal because of the way Iran behaves. You know, we were sold a lie in 2015 that the deal's going to make things better. It hasn't. It has made things a lot worse in the region.
Brooke, sorry to interrupt. I understand what you're saying, and Europe doesn't seem to agree with that. And I understand where you stand. What do you make of this view, though, from Reza Marashi, who served in the Office of the Iranian Affairs at the U.S. State Department? He's now director of the National Iranian American Council. Let's have a listen.
I think it's quite striking when you see an American president taking the side of Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates over traditional partners and allies long-standing, like the United Kingdom, France, and Germany. This administration in Washington has no plan B. We have no idea what they plan on doing going forward because all we heard today was little more than an airing of grievances.
So according to Reza Marashi, there, President Trump has no plan B, no idea going forward. And to be honest, many of the guests that we've spoken to about going forward, about what happens next, don't really have a specific answer. What do you make of that?
Well, first of all, it's more striking and frankly very shameful that Europe is really displaying terrible weakness. You know, instead of siding with, an American ally, it's really shocking to see the European powers side with a totalitarian regime that carries out genocide in Syria, threatens Israel with destruction, and brutally oppresses women, gay people, and minorities. And in terms of a plan B, there is a plan B. Renegotiate a better deal.
But why would they come?
Plan B.
But then Iran would come and say, well, why should we come to a negotiating table when the United States doesn't stick to its deals?
Because first of all, Iran is weak. Don't forget, there's a sunset clause here where by 2030, Iran can basically walk away from the deal and accelerate the path to a regional conflict, okay, and keep on its nuclear path. That is not a time to renegotiate a deal when Iran is economically intertwined with Europe, when it has a strong foothold in the Middle East, when it has an advanced ballistic missile program. So better to renegotiate the deal now, which is the plan B, than later when Iran is a lot more powerful.
It's interesting that you say renegotiate the deal. Well, why didn't the Trump administration label it that way? Why did they say, look, we're pulling out of the deal, instead of saying, look, there are things that we don't like about that deal. We're not getting full value. Let's negotiate some terms, because then you still have Iran on, in a negotiating position around a table, as opposed to being, well, I don't want to say an enemy now, but an adversary at that point.
Well, I think Trump administration officials have come out and said, we've been sold a lie. This is an imperfect deal. We're intending to negotiate it. I think, Obama and the people who did negotiate the deal have to show a little bit of humility here about how flawed it is. And we've also seen from our regional allies, which I think are the most important voices here, from the UAE, from the Gulf states, from Saudi Arabia, that they do not want this deal. They want a better deal. They are seeing firsthand the disastrous effects of an aggressive Iranian policy in the Middle East. They're seeing firsthand how the deal has made Iran even more powerful, more of a terror supporter, creating a refugee crisis, which Europe is also feeling right now. It is in everybody's interest to renegotiate this deal.
But there are also repercussions on the ground. With America pulling out of that deal. In recent hours, we've been getting reports suggesting an Israeli missile strike on targets near the Syrian capital, Damascus. Does Israel now have a green light to target Iran and its proxies in Syria? And doesn't that open up a huge can of worms when it comes to a probable war in the Middle East?
Well, any war that's going to be started or has already started in the Middle East is because of Iranian aggression and its funding of Hezbollah, Hamas, Al Qaeda, and so forth. And if Israel is going to risk the lives of their soldiers to contain what is happening in the Middle East, then we should be thankful for them for doing that. That they are basically staving off a broader war and making it possible that we
By
do
creating
not
more
have to.
conflict, Brooke?
How do you create more conflict by containing it? I mean, what we're seeing with our own eyes is conflict spreading. We're seeing the spreading of extremism in the Middle East. We're seeing things get worse since the deal. You just have to turn on the news or read the newspaper to understand that. So if the conflict is pouring out of the Syrian borders, if the conflict is making Hezbollah stronger, if they continue to threaten our allies,
Right.
then it's the terrorists who are making the threats that are creating the conflict.
Brooke, many thanks. Brooke Goldstein there, the founder of the Lawfare Project.